Hi, besties. You've found your community bestie to share thoughts and opinions, recap the shows we love.
Having too much fun.
Bravo should be fun. And have piping hot gossip sessions about the celebrities and Bravo lebs we love, hate, and love to hate. He went on a podcast claiming he had a threesome with two women from the Real Housewives of Beverly Hills.
Immediately, I was like, I wonder if it's Brandy and Carlton.
I'm Caitlin Marshall, your pop culture and Bravo bestie. Allegedly allegations. And if you enjoy fun conversation between friends, listening to your bestie rant about shows we can't get enough of, plus enjoy a little bit of, well, ridiculousness.
Oh my God. I'm sorry. There's a spider that is coming down. Hold on.
It's like the Blair Witch Project.
Oh my God. Has anybody seen my ring?
Oh my God.
I don't want to ruin the party or anything.
Have you seen my ring? Oh my God. Can you look on the floor for my ring? God, someone's gonna kill me.
Don't mess with me because I will come.
What? Oh.
Feel free to leave that in for whatever entertainment purposes.
You're in the right place. So thanks for joining me on Besties by Bravo. Hi, besties. Thank you for joining me today. It's Wednesday, April 30th. How is it the last day of April? How did that happen? We are very close to being halfway through 2025, and I feel like, what have I done at all this year? Not enough, but there's still time. We'll look at the year as half full, kind of like a glass. Does that work that way? I don't know. Anywho, we are recapping The Valley, season 2, episode 3 today. Y'all, I want to say this here and now. I think it has been made abundantly clear we don't need Jax Taylor for this cast to work. They were doing the work all on their own. He's not necessary. And quite frankly, the more I watch, the more abundantly clear it also is that Jax went ahead and went on the Hot Mic podcast and said that, yes, he does have an addiction, and went ahead and stayed at rehab for as long as he did because he had to. He was losing his job. And Bravo said, if you don't do all of this, we're done. You're out of here. You've done enough over the years. And now you have admitted to being not only emotionally abusive that we have seen over the years, but physically abusive to your estranged wife with your child in the house. I just, and I've been seeing a lot of his tour dates for In the Mind of a Man with Jax Taylor, which that is the mind of a man I want nowhere inside. Lock the door. I don't need a key. I don't need entry, even if it's free. Okay. A lot of those places have been canceling. I saw a content creator had even messaged one of the places and said, look, he shouldn't, this is terrible. He's not a good person. This is what he did on camera. And they quickly got back to this content creator saying, we're going to have an emergency meeting. Thank you so much for reaching out. We value your opinion, your experiences. They handled it correctly. You know, I do understand people will say, well, how's he supposed to make a living? Well, he's got a bar. And at this point, he could go do social media for a hockey team in Tampa. How about that? Anywho, let's get on into it, friends. All right. If you're watching here on YouTube, please be sure and like the video and join the comment section. It's been kind of a crazy time around here. I feel like I say that all the time, but I've been trying to keep up with the comments, and some days I'm really good and some days I'm not. So bear with me. But also, if you ever want to reach out, I want you to know you can DM me. I always reply. I'm getting better about remembering to check my message requests. So just so you know, I'm always here, besties. All right. We open with Brittany and Cruz, and y'all, this is what it's like being a mom. I watch and I see how Cruz is 3 years old, which is how old my son is. And I'm seeing that he is just this fantastic little swimmer by himself in the pool. And I was like, oh my God, we've got to. Got to get the swim lessons again because y'all, the swim lessons around here had him in them starting at like, he wasn't even a year old. And no matter what, the parents had to get in the pool with him. And it wasn't really doing anything except getting them kind of used to the water. And I am so sorry, but I reached a point where I was like, I am not shaving my legs and bikini line in January to get in a pool with my son for 20 minutes, freeze our butts off when we get out, and then just carry on our happy way at the most inconvenient times that they choose to have these classes. So, y'all didn't need to know all of that, but that's just what my brain was doing this morning. So we do have everyone finding out that Jax is going to rehab, and they're all pretty shocked that he did. Jason shows up after dropping Jax off up at Brittany's Airbnb. It's clearly also right after the fight between Jax and Brittany because she's still wearing that kind of awful little onesie shorts outfit. And I'm not being mean to Brittany. It literally just looks to me like something someone would wear after getting lipo, like it's supposed to be some sort of constricting. Brittany did not get lipo that we know of. She's already been open about like the cool sculpting she did, which you want to hear something kind of embarrassing and funny. This was a humbling moment when I commented on her video of that being like, hey, what's a mama of a toddler over here got to do to get some cool sculpting? They send me a message on Instagram, and there's an area in your messages that if, say, a brand wants to work with you, they message you through partnership messages. And I'm like, kind of like, oh my God, they messaged me through partner messages. Oh my gosh. And they're like, oh yeah, the prices start at 6,000. Excuse me. Not that I should have gotten it for free, but could you not have at least flattered me with half off? Yeah. But also, there's a reason why y'all rarely see me doing brand deals because I'm very, very particular about the ones I do. I won't just do one for the hell of it. In fact, I had a shapewear brand that wanted me. I can't remember if I've told y'all about this. It wasn't even that long ago that wanted me to work with them. And I was going back and forth. They were, lowballing me, all of that. And on top of it, the way they wanted me to do the video for this on social media was to put on a pair of jeans that were too tight for me, show how I bulge over the top, and then put the shapewear on. Now, that's the typical type of advert for something like this. But I felt like, excuse me, I am like a size 4 on certain days, it's close to a 6. Any of my besties here that are not a size 4 or 6, seeing me put on a pair of jeans that are too small and making it look as though that's not okay, that I'm not okay with myself at a size 4-ish, that is not okay either. I didn't like the message it was going to give, and I'm not trying to be like, hi, horse, let me get on my little pedestal here. Soapbox, that's what it's called, whatever. But also, like, it would have made me feel like garbage if I saw someone even my size, smaller than me, anything, even someone that wasn't just my size. And I saw, oh, well, you need shapewear at that size to be considered acceptable in public. Wow. I swear I did take my ADHD medication this morning, I think. Oh, well, we're here. Brittany asks Jason to tell her everything about dropping Jax off at the facility, aka rehab. And Jason tells her that Jax is having a hard time separating his anger toward Brittany and the fact that he absolutely needs to go to rehab. And what in the hell do you have to be angry with Brittany about, Jax? My God. With the flashback showing Jax saying, everything that I have done, she has done, and I'm being made to look like the crazy person. Because you are, Jax. And also, what exactly has Brittany done to you? It is, yes, it takes typically 2 people to reach a point in a marriage where it has to separate. I'm not saying Brittany is completely faultless, but my God. Oh, I'm so glad we do not have him on the screen this week. And also, like, just because she's done some pasta with you more than a time or 2 in the past does not mean she has the addiction you do. And I don't hear anything Jax Taylor, Jason Couchy, about bruises being left on your person or her breaking furniture in the house with your child, she'd most likely pass a drug test in that moment. And as she got, you, she said, would you? Jax? Jax? I know this is the moment of fighting the admission of needing help and part of the process of expecting your addiction, but for the love of God, it doesn't make it any easier to watch. In confessional, Jason points out that, what should be the obvious, in that as a parent, if your own actions are hindering the ability to safely spend time with your child, then you should absolutely be doing everything you can to remedy this by whatever means necessary. Brittany brings up that Jax is 45 with a 3-year-old son, and at some point, everyone, including Jax Taylor, has to grow up. And let's let that sink in for a moment. He is 45 effing years old, pulling all of this. Like, truly, this is the thing. Jax believes he is the exception of every rule and every expectation that comes along with being an adult just because of who he is. He thinks the tiniest little minuscule amount of growth should be considered enormous just because he's Jax Taylor. And because he's Jax Taylor, that bar should be lowered below the ground for him. No more. No more. We're not letting that bar be as low as it was. We're going to hold you to the standard of even the worst men on the planet, which we hadn't even been holding you to that, Jax. Jason, I'm sorry, I missed a little spot here. Janet and Michelle show up, and I find it weird that Janet doesn't even go, I don't know, greet her own husband, like, hey, babe. But okay, after he essentially did just help your friend, because something about the friendship with Jax and Jason tells me that Jason would have nothing to do with Jax if Brittany were not friends with Janet and if they were not on a TV show together, because Jason is far too emotionally intelligent and far too just self-aware and aware of how things work and too gracious to possibly associate with Jax for any other reason. And I hate to say this. Gosh damn it. But you know how a lot of times, and this is something basically Brittany did for Jax, women who are married to certain men, they make those men seem like better people than they are because the woman is so great. I have to say, Jason kind of does that for Janet because Janet makes me nuts. And unless there is some particular side to her story on so many things, I don't get it. But I would say if Jason is willing to put up with a lot of her behavior, maybe there is something under there. Or maybe Jason has some secret a-hole behavior that Janet puts up with. We don't know. Okay. Like I said, I'm going off on all sorts of things. This is not going to be a 2-hour podcast. Damn it. We're going to try. Jason leaves to go relieve Janet's mom of baby duty, and Brittany is worried that Jax is going to be in rehab just trying to charm everyone and not admit to anything he does or any of his issues with complete and total transparent honesty. Jason ends up saying every day that Jax is in there doing the right thing, he's being a fantastic father. But every day he's in there wasting time, he's being a terrible father. So Brittany asks him, did you tell Jax that? And he just kind of laughs and is like, nope, I just thought of it. So sorry. In confessional, Brittany says she knows Jax better than anybody and says, I know how charming he can be. I know how manipulating he can be. I know how he can turn all the stories to make him look like a victim. And that worries me because the whole reason he is in there is to actually make himself look better or at least try and get him on that path. Because he's there to be better for his son. Janet tells Jason she's proud to be his wife because of him being Jax's taxi to rehab. Michelle tells Brittany she's a bit shocked Jax went ahead and went to rehab because she wasn't expecting him to actually follow through and do that. They are trying to chat about everything, but Cruz wants to be with Mama, and she doesn't want to talk about any of the negativity or speak badly about Jax in front of him, which is good. And Brittany just hugs and kisses on Cruz and admits she's just at a point of being able to burst out in tears at any second. In confessional, she says that she has really tried to stick by Jax through all the shit he's put her through over the years, but that she's not the same naive little girl that was 26 that came from Kentucky and just was chasing a boy that I fell madly in love with after 2 months. Gosh, that flashback of her, she was a baby, little baby. But she says she's a mother now and can't be playing that game. Janet says that if Jax doesn't follow through with rehab, they're cutting him all off, with Brittany telling them how she let Jax know that it would be filing, restraining order, and custody if he doesn't take it seriously. Michelle says that if she were Brittany, she would file tomorrow and she would not look back. Over at what is now Jesse's house, you little shit. Michelle should have stayed there, okay? Anyway, he's putting together a fancy croissant, tea, and coffee setup for Kristen and Luke, who come over. And in confessional, Kristen says, I'm having a tea party with Jesse, and Isabella's not there. This is effing growth. It truly is very Jesse Lolly coded to have Nutella croissant and a full tea set that appears to be Hermes, which runs $290 per cup and saucer. I would only be allowed to have one, but if I were in there trying to drink from that, I would be begging for a Target mug, please. Please, I beg you. I will break this gorgeous little thing by looking at it. My mind somehow will find the power to shatter this set. So please, no. Kristen continues in confessional that if Michelle were putting forth the effort that Jesse were, maybe they could have actually moved forward. Kristen asks Jesse what exactly happened at the white party because we know he and Michelle kind of got into it. Not kind of, they did. He says he doesn't know what's going on with Michelle and that she's most likely been with her boyfriend for the last 2 years. In confessional, he says that nothing with Michelle and Aaron adds up and he thinks that she was with him while they were married. But in confessional, Kristen says to be clear, Aaron is not the guy that she was talking about when she said Michelle had had another boyfriend for a year last season. Oh. Well, who is it? Because Michelle finally did reveal in an interview that it's Quentin Tarantino that people were talking about, this producer that they were trying to say she was sleeping with. I mean, I love a Tarantino movie more than you would expect. Like, a lot more than you would expect. I'm really Quentin Tarantino? Okay. Hey, you know, okay. When asked if Michelle has said otherwise regarding the length of this relationship with Aaron, Jesse says that Michelle told him Aaron said he would never date a married woman and would never want to date someone with a kid. And I'm sorry, but if I were Michelle, the fact that he said he would never date someone with a child would cause me to walk away immediately. Done. Just cleaning my hands. But Jesse is about to have a full-blown conspiracy going, and he has saved all of this up just for Kristen Mariposa Doty. He says that the honey he has had in the cabinet for 2 years happens to be Aaron's honey company, and that there was a time Michelle had been done up, just completely glammed up one day because she started doing these hikes, as in being just all made up, going to hike at Runyon Canyon. I am still quite surprised that hardly anyone who has spent more than, I'm going to say, 5 or 6 years living in Los Angeles still goes to Runyon Canyon, unless they're filming a reality show and they are just filming the hike. But regardless, okay. I mean, yeah, famous people will go there. You kind of will always see someone famous if you go there, as long as it's not like in the intense heat of the summer, but still. Anyway, where were we? Okay. Now, the flashback to me doesn't show Michelle looking as though she's super glammed up, that they were trying to use as a reference. But I guess Michelle doesn't wear much makeup to begin with because that lucky bitch doesn't have to. In confessional, Kristen says, in LA in the summer at the top of that skinny mountain, you're not wearing a drop of makeup. She is just, listen, Kristen is like getting turned on by the idea of catching someone cheating. She's not turned on by Jesse, but it's literally just the idea of getting to play detective and putting stringing things together and catching someone. Kristen is like horny AF now. Watch out, Luke. I wonder if that's when they conceived. Then Jesse says that he would ask Michelle why she wasn't wearing her wedding ring, and that her answer was she didn't feel safe walking around with that rock on the streets, but he did, rightfully so, find it suspicious that she didn't even wear her wedding band. And I do find that fair. That's where, if you've got the wedding band, yeah. He says on New Year's Day when he checked out Aaron's Instagram and saw that the honey company was in his profile, that he went, "That mother effing honey." I've never seen someone get so bent out of shape over honey, and it's fantastic. He says that he remembers going to Whole Foods and telling Michelle he couldn't find the brand of honey she likes. So she told him that she gets it at a place near Runyon Canyon. So his next point is, where is his house? As in Aaron's. And again, Jesse knows Kristen loves this kind of shit. So he saved up this entire Venn diagram presentation of clues and suspicions up just for her. In confessional, Jesse says that he and Michelle had a conversation earlier in the summer and claims that she admitted to cheating on him and that he's 99% certain it was Aaron, but that he believes if it was not Aaron, then Michelle must have cheated on him twice. And while as my girl math, this does add up, but at the same time, like, okay, yes, we're gonna need a little more than honey to prove her guilty. Honey. Jesse then brings up that he wants to show personal growth. So he planned a wine tasting trip to Santa Barbara with a house he booked, and his growth is that he invited Michelle and Aaron to be a part of this. Okay. Yeah. Outwardly, yes, that might indicate some growth. However, I do, in my heart of hearts, believe he invited them to stay in the same house so that he could torment them. But I don't blame him for that either. But I also blame him. I am very torn on these two. It's very complicated. And he also says that although he doesn't feel super comfortable having Michelle there, he worried that she would feel excluded, which would cause pushback from Brittany or Janet. And he concluded, I guess they should all be included. Now, this very expensive high tea with tea being spilled gets interrupted when Kristen gets a phone call from Janet. She says, hello, so nervous, like, hello? And Janet's like, Kristen? Girl, okay. Who are you trying to convince? Janet tells Kristen about her birthday that's going to be at Dave & Buster's, and that if Kristen feels as though it's the right time and like it's right, she'd love to have Kristen there. In confessional, Kristen questions if Janet called her by mistake after the white party, because that wasn't really a heartfelt, genuine apology from Janet. But Kristen just tells Janet thanks for calling and that it was really kind of her. But I did love Kristen's response to the invite. She doesn't say whether she'll be there or not, just says, well, thank you. That's very kind of you. So they just kind of seem to decide they're going to be in touch. And Kristen kind of convinces Jesse to let her help plan the Santa Barbara trip, which it's hilarious to me how Kristen's like, I'm really good at planning trips. When we know that Kristen was not always the best traveler, notoriously. In fact, we know Stassi referred to her as a terrorist when it came to traveling. We go across the cast with everyone talking about Santa Barbara, and now Kristen and Nia go to get Kristen acupuncture that's supposed to help Kristen with ovulation, which obviously we know she's pregnant now, but I believe she did do IVF. So here's just because a trigger warning for infertility. Nia says that she had unexplained infertility, which actually happened to one of my dear friends after multiple rounds of IVF. And this is one of those women that all she genuinely wanted in her life was to marry someone that it was a healthy, loving relationship and to be a mother. So it was so devastating. It was years, and she's so healthy. I mean, never smoked, doesn't even really drink at all, maybe 3 or 4 times a year, incredibly healthy and well. And it was, they even brought her case to like a medical conference because there was just no explanation. but she does now have two gorgeous children. And I happen to be an IVF baby, if y'all didn't know that already. And I am going to show my age, but I was one of the only total 2,600 live births conceived via IVF in 1988. So the number of actual babies is much higher because multiples, they used to put so many fertilized. Is that? And we're going to call them fertilized eggs because I don't know what else to call them. Eggs. My mother had 7 embryos put in her. 7. Could you imagine? 7 of me. Okay. I have very morbid jokes about that. Do you want? Yeah, no one wants to hear them. Okay, I'll tell you. I always joke that when everyone gets to heaven, those 6 others are going to have some black eyes. Don't get mad at me. It's a familial joke. Anyway, I have said this before though, but for the fertility stuff and checking these things, I personally get a lot of anxiety around this because of the fact that I would love to have one more child, but the only thing holding us back is finances. And because we will not be bringing another child in this world, especially in this country where the medical debt we'd incur and the child we already have could be negatively affected by us not having the means to support all of us and give him the same opportunities for success that he deserves, we have to wait, you know? And I hate to hold back on any subject, but I've said previously that I try to consider things like if I personally am dealing with something that is really heavy on my mind or heart or anything that truly I can't be the only one. And I know I'm not because I received messages from some of you just being appreciative that it's more than even just the stress of physically hoping you could conceive, but also knowing and being responsible enough to consider the financial. I mean, it should be a given, but we know there are people who don't consider that. So I know I'm not alone, and it does just truly give me the most visceral anxiety because I am 36. Anyway, let's move on. They talk about Luke going over to Nia and Daniel's where the 3 kids are, and Nia says that she tries to hire a nanny when she's going to be gone for any length of time so Daniel isn't stuck doing it all alone with the 3 under 3. Listen, I will be fully on board with this idea if he does the same for her when she's alone with the 3 of them for a decent length of time. Because my God, listen, I know Danny can be a little bit obnoxious with reiterating over and over the 3 under 3 bit, but I could barely function with 1 under 3. And now it's for them going to be 4 under 4. Just thinking about it. Send help. Ooh, y'all, I would have been done after those twins. I would have been, baby shop is closed. But that's what they wanted. So good for them. Kristen says Luke will be a great help with the kids because he's good with them and looks like Santa, with her saying she doesn't think he looks like Van Gogh. And oh my God, I guess he does. I will say he's like kind of the more model version of Van Gogh, and nobody be rude at all about that because he is a good looking guy. And I think he is the good looking version of Vincent Van Gogh. Okay. Luke is at Danny and Nia's, like we said, and they chat about how they're trying to get pregnant. And Nia and Kristen are also talking about it, with Nia asking about if there's any work being put toward getting married, at least the type of work that they were putting in for getting pregnant, with Danny alluding to the same line of questioning over at their house. Luke lets him know he does have thoughts about a proposal and tells us in confessional that he's been thinking about the proposal for a while. He tells Danny he hasn't told anyone about this, not even his own brother. And the foreshadowing here, with Danny saying in his own confessional how touched he is that Luke is trusting him with the secret and that he is locked down like Fort Knox. And here's something, just a little piece of advice, personal advice. Some may say it's not a bitter piece of advice, but I don't know what the word is. But I do feel personally an urge whenever I'm wanting to become closer with someone that I would caution people before they fall prey to this urge. And maybe it's my Scorpio side of being very guarded in this regard, but it's something that I've done in the past and regretted. However, just because someone shares a secret with you, you are not then obligated to share something that is a secret with them. Okay. And I feel that all of this that Luke ends up finding out from Danny would have come out anyway at some point, regardless of it being told to him, you know. But I feel that Danny felt as though, well, Luke shared something with me. I have to share something that's super locked down secret too. And, or that he should, maybe not that he had to. And I would just caution people against that. That is more a compliment to you. Take, you know what I'm saying? Take the compliment that you are someone that they feel can be trusted and move on. You can, you know, feel around if they're trustworthy, because while I also agree with Luke eventually telling the girls what Jesse had said, I also, I don't know, it's a tough situation. I think we should all just be mad at Jesse about this at the end of the day. But apparently, this group chat is, you know, what's going to be our topic next for the rest of the episode, which apparently Jason is excluded from this boys' chat due to having an Android. Those green messages are not allowed. No girls allowed or green messages. And wow, Jesse, how incredibly proud you must be of yourself that you were voted Rookie of the Year in this group chat, which to me means that you actually won the messiest bitch of the whole year. Men really will, really, they will start a toxic masculinity style boys chat with 30 other men before they'll go to therapy. And the proof of this is not even, it's not even just a joke. It's the fact that it sounds as though it was Jax who started this and is the supreme leader of the group. So he literally chose to start a messy little girls chat with the boys instead of going to therapy. Danny asks Luke if he's in this stupid boys chat that apparently has like 20 to 30 guys in it. And it's big enough, Danny doesn't even know if Luke is a part of it or not. Luke says he isn't, but again, this is apparently news to Danny. And he tells Luke that Jesse was saying he didn't understand how Michelle could afford anything at the moment because according to Jesse, she hadn't made commission in 2 years from being real estate agents, and that Jesse claimed he has evidence Michelle is sleeping with a billionaire for $1,500 a night. Honey, no, I'm going to need more than $1,500. That doesn't even meet the SAG Screen Actors Guild hourly rate for a principal actor. And if I'm putting those acting skills to work, listen, I'm going to need some residuals, some extra percentage that would have normally gone to my agent, but it will go to my therapy instead. Jesse and Jason meet up, and Jason asks him if he's coming to Janet's, Dave, and Buster's B-Day party. That's all the way in freaking Northridge. That, I'm telling, Jesse was not exaggerating about the Uber probably being like $145. There's literally one at Hollywood and Highland, but my best guess is that they couldn't get clearance for filming. So Jason then brings up Danny going, and apparently an incident that happened with Danny and how he loves the guy, but he doesn't feel that Danny knows how to handle his alcohol. This makes me sad because I do like Danny. I do. So we are now going to have to see one of the only men on the show. It was down to Danny and Jason, and I guess we're going to soon find out it's down to Jason being our only decent man. Well, Zach, we love Zach too, our guardian angel. Jason says he doesn't actually think that Danny has a full-blown problem with alcohol. I mean, he really thinks he'd only gotten drunk like twice in the whole year, but he clearly cannot handle this alcohol. And that's been a resounding theme throughout the cast. Jason says that he thinks Danny had a rock bottom moment on Halloween when they were at Jax's bar where he had to have a conversation. Where he ended up having to have a conversation with Jasmine about what he did. In confessional, Jason tells us that Danny was blackout drunk and that there was an incident where he approached Jasmine, put his hand on her thigh and said, "Get daddy a drink." Excuse me. And then when and Jason says when Jasmine went to go get Daddy a drink. Did he say Daddy or Danny? But I'm pretty sure he said Daddy. That's what the subtitles said. So Jason's recounting this. And because he's so legal, so she went to get Daddy and some others a drink. Sorry, that's the only funny part of this. And that when she went to go get the drinks, that Danny allegedly approached Jasmine's girlfriend, now fiance Melissa, and grabbed her butt. Whoa, Danny boy, that is not good. We get a scene of Jasmine telling Danny that he was inappropriate with her and her fiance both, which threw her because she's always viewed Danny as such a good guy. And Danny does acknowledge that the behavior was out of his character and tells him he is so sorry. The after show kind of, I don't know, made it feel like it was Jasmine's still not cool with him because of how he did handle it afterward. And it seems that Danny was so blackout, he was confused if it was Michelle or Melissa who he grabbed. And he even, because he thought it was Michelle, the way the story was relayed by Brittany, that he called Jesse to apologize, which no, you call the person you did it to, bruh. Yeah. In confessional, Jason continues by saying that he wasn't totally surprised by Danny doing this, but it was surprising in the sense that this is really a step further than what he'd heard of Danny doing in the past while being in a drunken state. So, yeah, I have a feeling this will not be the last of what we hear about it. Over at Brittany's Airbnb, Cruz is napping on her bed with all the lights and 2 dogs on there. And what I would give for my child to be one of those that could sleep anywhere like that. Like, holy shit. He's like me. It's got to be dark AF, cool, like on the verge of cold, a sound machine, perfect conditions. The world's axis has to be at exactly at the nth degree. And oh my gosh. Again, I think I took my medication today. Maybe I didn't. 2 days ago, McCoy, God bless him, he was laughing so hard. And he has horrible allergies like me. I've been waking up every morning looking like I have pink eye. Okay. Like it's miserable. So he started coughing and it made him start to throw up. Oh, Jay's going to kill me for even sharing this. But Jay, listen, Jay can handle and does handle like 95% of certain crisis situations. But vomit, he cannot. Okay. He's getting McCoy up from his nap and I just hear, Mama, we need your help. And I'm like, oh shit, what? And I come running upstairs. McCoy is standing up in his bed, looking down as Jay is standing there like, ugh. McCoy's puking. Okay. And I'm not laughing at my kid puking because obviously he's okay. He didn't even have a stomach bug. It's something, if you've ever had sinus issues like I have, sometimes you end up coughing so hard you lose your lunch. And so I'm like, okay, baby, it's okay. And this is what's crazy. And it dawned on me as I move McCoy over to the toilet to puke. How we've made it to him being over 3.5. It was the first time he'd ever thrown up. Ever. Yeah, did he spit up a little bit when he was a baby? Sure. But we never had the vomiting in this house. We'd gotten lucky. I should knock on some wood. But poor baby, it scared him to death. And I knew he was okay. It was just shocking to him. And the way this child looked at me as though, how are you going to let me die like this? I'm like, it's okay, baby. You're all right. And I mean, kids, it's a new thing every day. Never knew vomit could make things a whole new world. Anyway, Kristen, Luke, and Zach show up just after Brittany had been trying to keep it super quiet for Cruz napping, but clearly that kid will sleep through anything. Kristen tells them she's having wardrobe panic, so she brought everything she owns to get ready for the night, and Zach just looks at her and goes, well, what are you getting ready for? And he's laughing at her because obviously it's for Janet's party and she's all anxious. So in confessional, Kristen says she recognizes it must have been hard for Janet to invite Kristen and that she probably didn't even expect Kristen to go, but that she knows Janet will have to just go ahead and be nice to Kristen because, as we will learn, Dave and Buster's is Janet's happiest place on earth, truly. Zach is not going because he was not invited. So in confessional, he says, it didn't piss me off that I wasn't invited to her party because as Kristen's demonic friend, these editors crack me up. I don't feel like she was going to invite me anyway. And apparently they haven't even spoken to try and work things out regardless. But Zach is no dummy, my friends. He is not. He's picking up on what's really happening here because he says that Janet inviting Kristen and not him has those wheels in his head turning toward the fact that Janet is most likely a scheming, honey. Luke brings up Santa Barbara, saying that they all obviously want to see Jesse and Michelle get on the same page for Isabella's sake, but that when he was at Danny's yesterday, Danny told him something kind of disturbing that he heard on the guys' chat. And he says, Jesse said he thinks Michelle's sleeping with a billionaire for $1,500 a night. And Kristen, don't let anyone ever say you're not a good actress because you pretending it's the first time you heard this. I love you so much, Christian. I love you so much, Kristen. Never change. I mean, too much. I love the growth you've had. Let's just stay where we are right now. In confessional, Luke says that Jesse saying this about Michelle is definitely shitty, but did it make him smile and laugh a little bit? Yeah. And before anyone jumps down his throat, it's obviously because of how Michelle has treated Kristen. But he goes on to say in his confessional that he doesn't like the telephone game and just wants it to be that whatever information comes from him is the concise truth and basically no in between. Okay. Also, he knows that he will be in very big, deep doo-doo with Kristen if he doesn't say it. He told her already. Okay, y'all, like very clearly, he told her, and she was like, if you don't say something, in confessional, Kristen says, I just became a part of Team Jesse. Like, do I have to turn my card in already? Same, babe. Because, like, Michelle, please do something because I see through most of Jesse's attempts at charm and bullshit, but she's been making it really hard. And now, Jesse, I mean, how about everybody sucks here? I think we can conclude that, don't you? And Brittany made me laugh more than she ever really has, I think, here. Because Brittany just goes, Jesse, I swear, Jesse. In confessional, she says that maybe if you want your divorce to go more smoothly, start by not accusing your not ex-wife yet of being a freaking hooker. Then at the table, she says, gosh, I don't want to have to be mad at another freaking man right now. My Brittany is off today. Why is she off? Rotten hell. Yeah. In her, I don't know. Bear with me. Because she's just over there saying, Jesse, I swear, rotten hell, Jesse. It'll get there. Sorry. We're now at Dave & Buster's. Forget it. Okay. I have to say this. Michelle's boyfriend, Aaron, is like, I don't know. And a version of Jesse that had too much caffeine and has anxiety, the way his eyes are always like wide open constantly. But no offense, he's not quite as attractive as Jesse. God damn it, I had to admit that. But she does definitely have a type. Jesse shows up and is saying hello to Nia, barely acknowledges Daniel standing there, which is also interesting to me because he doesn't know that Daniel told Luke this, does he? Right? Does he? And Michelle happens to be standing there as well. And Nia says she gets nervous giving a guy a hug when he's wearing a white shirt when she has makeup on, with Jesse asking if she used setting spray. And Michelle decides she cannot be in Jesse's presence for 10 seconds without talking some shit. Michelle chimes in that Nia should hug him because it's his favorite thing to get makeup on his white shirts. Then she tells Nia after Jesse is sort of walked off, not completely, that she wasn't allowed to wear makeup when they were married because according to her, he would say, I hate girls who wear makeup and then get makeup on my shirt. You're telling me he forbade you from wearing makeup, but also that he wouldn't hug you to begin with anyway. Okay. Also, Jesse, this way everyone sucks. If that's true, don't hug women then. We don't want you to hug us. We're good. We can use the space. Let us miss you. Thank you so much. Like, what the fuck? So Janet is a Dave & Buster's obsessive fan, and she has a whole game plan for how she does this. And while it's a little like, oh my God, I am very happy to see one thing, at least one thing that is endearing about her. Okay. To see her this joyful, it's hard not to be at least slightly endeared to her. So thank you for giving us this. Okay. Brittany pulls Nia and Michelle aside to talk and goes, "So I wanted to say this before we start playing and having fun and all that stuff because I'd rather get it out of the way because it really annoyed me." In other words, I'm pulling you aside now because production said to do it at the beginning of the evening rather than later so that there would be something more than just adults playing at a kids' casino, also known as an arcade, to use for an episode. She tells them about what Luke told them, Jesse said in the group chat about Michelle trying to pretty woman her way into paying rent. With Nia mouthing to Michelle, it's true that this was said in the chat. Michelle is just truly immediately emotional, crying, saying that she left the marriage with Jesse to get away from this type of shit. But ever since she has filed, he's been making her life harder. And in confessional, again, Michelle reiterates that ever since she filed for divorce, it appears to her as though all Jesse wants with her is revenge. And she thinks Jesse is kind of just trying to get Aaron to break up with her. The girls decide they're going to get Danny over here, and he looks so freaked out already. Brittany tells him that Luke told her earlier what Jesse supposedly said in the group chat about Michelle hooking up with a billionaire for money. And the look on Danny's face. Oh my gosh. If I were Nia, I would take multiple screenshots of that look, save it to my favorites, and every time I was wondering if I had caught him in some shit, I would take a picture of him and put them side by side and be like, look, there's the face. Can't deny it. So what's the truth? Danny just says in confessional, "I'm dead." Brittany says they need to make sure Jesse actually said this so that they can ask him about it and basically be like, "Yeah, well, Danny told us verbatim that you did." Now, Danny has the pressure of two women who are so mad at men at the moment, staring him down, and his wife, who is reminding him unnecessarily that he told Luke Jesse said this the other day. Why does it crack me up to like truly so much to see a man under pressure like this when they get caught? Like genuinely, when a man is in the middle of being caught, like, and he is guilty, this is hilarious to me. I love it. I love it so much, no matter who it is. What's interesting here is Danny is going, pay attention. If you need to go back and watch, you'll notice this too. This is what Danny's starting to say. This was said, and that's as if his sentence was cut off. And in my opinion, it was clearly cut off at that moment where he was about to say something more and editing removed it. So they went ahead and did Danny just completely dirty. Did Danny dirty. Michelle immediately starts bawling, though, with Brittany telling her that they know it's not true. And Danny is just saying to Nia, and kind of them too, this is going to come back to be really bad. But damn, Nia, she got a little bit of that hard ass in her saying, it is, but it's too late. It was said, and now you got to own it. You said it, and now you got to own it. In confessional, Danny is freaking out, saying, "Luke, what the F? We're boys, and you're telling Brittany, who is, of course, going to tell Michelle? Well, maybe you shouldn't be in a douche canoe group chat with the boys." And he's just like, why couldn't we keep this on lockdown? Michelle is fully breaking down, saying she wants to be divorced and never speak to Jesse again, as Brittany is asking why the hell Jesse would even say that. Nia just gives Danny that look like, you are so fucked. And it's so your fault, you dummy. Kristen shows up with Luke, of course. And in confessional, Janet is saying that she's glad Kristen showed up because she even still has a friendship ring she gave Janet one Christmas and knows they probably won't have the same friendship they once did, but she's glad that she's there. Meanwhile, Michelle is telling Brittany that Jesse is the one who is broke and can't pay their rent because he spent all their money. So we did get a little bit more context to this in the after show that, well, also Jesse is hounding Michelle for money, expecting her to pay half of their health insurance. Okay, fine. But then that Michelle claims that he wants her to pay him back for half of their wedding, that she never even wanted a wedding, but Jesse was like, "I'm only getting married once. Let's do it big. Let's go to Napa. Let's do this." And they had a 55-person 3-day weekend that cost somewhere, in Michelle's estimate, around $140,000. With Jesse also alleging that when it came time to divide assets in the house, like furniture and things like that, it was a complete and total shit show. In fact, he claims that it even went down to the silverware drawer being opened. And Michelle saying that she wanted half of the silverware, with Jesse saying, well, half of those are from my ex-girlfriend, and claims that Michelle then threw them across the room. See, this is that type of divorce that you see, well, in TV shows, but mostly scripted. This looks miserable. I'm sorry. Absolutely miserable, in my opinion. Michelle is telling Brittany again that Jesse's the one who's broke and can't pay their rent because he spent all their money. So Jesse and Michelle are realtors. Let's put that into perspective, that they rent. Now, listen, zero shame in renting because, oh my effing gosh, how can anyone afford a house right now? But still, I find it interesting that these two have been renting when they work in real estate, and they were supposed to be a very successful real estate couple. Michelle is receiving nothing in child support from Jesse, and now Jesse is making this rumor up about her. Okay, so see, here we go. See, Jesse, I was so on your side, and now you're giving her zero money, then calling her broke, which then leads you to claim she's being a hooker. Ew, Jesse. Ew. Ew. And perfect timing, because a producer tells Luke to head over there. So he walks up in the middle of this mess, asking if Danny is doing okay. And Nia tells Danny and Luke that she thinks there needs to be a little space with Luke and Kristen at the moment. But like, why did that fall on Luke in that particular way? I don't know. Luke just tells Danny he's sorry and he hopes he didn't wear out his welcome by spilling the beans. Michelle is saying in a very clearly sarcastic manner, oh, so it's my fault that my husband never wanted to touch me or kiss me or give me a compliment or hug me for years? I'm not sure where she was going with that, but okay. Danny now goes over to Jesse and Jason, who are playing a game, and Danny is clearly shitting himself because he has to say he just found out some information, with Jesse being like, what about me? I think Jesse must have already known. I don't know how. I don't. But I don't know, unless Kristen gave him a heads up. I don't know. Anyway, Danny goes over and says Luke was over there, or I'm sorry, my goodness. Okay. Let's try that again. Danny tells Jesse, Luke was over the other day, and I said Michelle might be sleeping with a billionaire for money, and he took that information and told Brittany, and Brittany has now told Michelle, which has Jesse just going, fantastic. God bless Jason over there trying to contribute in any way that he can. He just goes, well, here's the thing about libel and slander. Is it true? If it's true, then like, what do you have to worry about? I don't know why. I like Jason more and more every week. And that is only to Janet's benefit because, again, it's helpful. All right. In confessional, Jason says he's never been happier to have an android and not be in this group chat, because over the years, apparently multiple men have gotten in trouble because of this group chat. And I do remember it being brought up last season at some point. Maybe I don't know. I do remember it though. Jesse now claims that he said this about Michelle as a joke, and that he said it because Jax has been worried that there was a mole in the group chat. Oh my God. Because all the things about who Jax is dating and where he's dating them, what's happening, is getting back to the wives and then ultimately to Brittany. In confessional, Jesse claims that when he and Jax were discussing who this possible mole could be, Danny's name came up, with Jesse saying he knows who isn't the mole to Danny and Jason, but that he's not so sure if Danny is not the mole. Are y'all so for real, guys? This is the most sophomore and douche canoey thing you all could ever do. I cannot. I cannot. Jesse then goes on in confessional to claim that when Danny joined the chat, all of a sudden, the things about Jax have come out, and that he doesn't think he understands the sanctity of the boys chat, with Danny telling him that he's not the mole. And Jesse saying that because he told Luke he violated the number one rule. What happens in boys chat stays in boys chat. Why the F are straight men so obsessed with making sports references and creating their own personal version of Fight Club? Why? Like, are y'all okay? Are you okay? No, really. Why do you, like, because this is, I mean, I can't even form the words. Why do you want to be like the guy who was clearly experiencing a multiple personality disorder that led to a group of men beating the shit out of each other and refusing to tell anyone? This is not Fight Club. This is a girls only gossip session that you call the boys chat. Dorks. By the way, Lauren Skay, our Zen blonde, one of the besties. Girl, what are you doing here? Hi, she was in this episode looking gorgeous as ever. Just noticed, like, oh my gosh. Look at us. We're friends with someone on TV. Janet asks Jesse why Michelle is crying, and Jesse is such a little fucker, putting it this way. It's wild. It really is wild how men like Jesse can spend these things, because the way he condemns Jax and then does this. Jesse goes, I don't know. Apparently Luke started some things because first of all, he knows Janet and Kristen are already on incredibly shaky ground with each other. So now he's trying to get Janet's focus of potential anger toward the people who were already barely invited to her birthday party on them and not him. And I think he was kind of secretly hoping that Janet would be even more angry because it's her birthday, pulling this type of thing. But you know what? I am proud of Janet for not being like our young Stassi Schroeder. Stassi seems to have grown out of that whole it's my effing birthday phase. So yes, I'm not putting her down, but I am saying that part of Janet grew on me. We're going to see. And when Janet's like, Luke, he goes, I don't know. I guess Danny came over to me and said he said something in confidence to Luke, and Luke told Brittany and Brittany told Michelle. The way he is spinning this, instead of saying, well, I called my wife, who I am not even legally divorced from yet, a hooker, and a cheap one at that, if she is sleeping with a billionaire for only $1,500, that is not even half of rent. My God. It's wild. Jana is more so baffled at how anyone could cry in Dave and Buster's. And, it's funny. I kind of feel that way about Zara or being in Sephora, Word has now been traveling around with what Jesse claimed about Michelle in the little boys gossip chat. Michelle has a bright idea that she's now going to share with Brittany, though, which is that when they all go to Santa Barbara for Jesse's trip that he planned, that Jesse should get a hotel while they all stay in the house. But, ma'am, it's his trip, ma'am. I'm on your team on this one, 100%, but, it's his trip. What do you mean? What do you mean? So Michelle is going to go around and ask everyone to vote on whether Jesse's allowed to stay in the house he paid for the trip he planned. Oh, mess, pure mess. In confessional, Michelle concludes that this is all purely about Jesse's ego and the fact that it was her who left him, and that if it were reversed, he wouldn't be coming in so hard at her. I agree. I do agree. Jesse would instead be making her out to be crazy and jealous herself. So I do agree with Michelle on that. Michelle goes around to ask what everyone's vote is regarding Jesse being ousted from the house. It is just so juvenile on everyone's parts, not just Michelle, but also Jesse. And of course, Janet is Team Michelle, while Jasmine is telling Nia she doesn't know what to believe after Jesse came over to her, and Melissa saying that him making this claim about Michelle was purely to find out who the mole was in the group chat. And in confessional, Nia points out that it's ridiculous these boys would think that the group chat will be private when all their wives will end up being privy to the conversations. Yeah, exactly. Michelle comes to Jasmine and Nia to get their vote. And here's the thing, okay? Thank you. Why don't we get more of Jasmine? We better get more of her this season. I love her. Jasmine has the right idea and logic here in confessional when she brings up that Michelle just shouldn't go to Santa Barbara if she doesn't want to stay in a house with Jesse for the trip he planned. And jokes like, no Santa Barbara for you. You're not allowed Santa Barbara, Jesse. But Kristen has walked up now and brings to Michelle's attention, thank you, that it is in fact the trip Jesse planned and the house he rented. So when her hand is forced to give a vote, Kristen says, I'm voting Jesse, with Nia sounding like she's voting the same. Again, so incredibly juvenile for them to be doing this. And I was so on Michelle's side with all of this, 1000%. Now it's just back to you both suck. In confessional, Kristen says that she is on essentially Michelle's side, claiming with Jesse, having claimed that essentially Michelle's an escort, and says that, and if the rumors are true, then you can afford a really nice hotel to stay in Santa Barbara. Kristen tells Jesse about Michelle gathering votes on whether Jesse is allowed to stay in the house he rented. Jasmine votes Jesse, and Michelle starts crying at her voting that. And this is where it gets very whoa. In confessional, Michelle says, "It's very hurtful. Like, why don't my friends see my side? I'm going through just as much as Brittany, if not even worse. Jesse's by far worse than Jax, by far." Are you for real? Just don't go, honey. Stay in a hotel. But how dare you compare abuse in a way of what's worse or not, like it's a competition? How dare you? Abuse is abuse. If Jesse is emotionally abusing you, that is abuse. Same thing if Jax is doing the same thing to Brittany. What is wrong with you? Why couldn't you just say, I am going through something that may not be the exact same as what Brittany's going through, but the emotional toll is the same for me. Wow. But after Michelle proclaims in confessional that Jesse is worse than Jax, we immediately cut over to Janet getting happy birthday with her cake and all of that. Jesse, we end with him admitting in confessional that he has some things he needs to speak to Michelle about, and says the best fights happen in the ring, meaning they'll do that when they are in Santa Barbara. I think Jesse is loving the idea that he will get to go rounds with Michelle and Aaron in the same room. I think he is seeking the conflict. He screwed up here. My God, what is happening? What is happening? Brittany and Luke went on Watch What Happens Live last night. Oh my gosh. Brittany said at his best, Jax was a 7 in bed, but typically a 2 or 3. Oh, okay. Wow. That's kind of funny. She's getting all of those in. Besties, thank you again for joining today. Come back tomorrow. We will be covering Summer House, where Lexi finally gives Jesse Solomon the boot. If you're listening on audio, could you do your girl a huge favor by leaving a review? That's maybe 5 stars, saying what you do love about the show. And then go follow me on Instagram and TikTok. It's at Besties by Caitlin, Caitlin. And again, if you're watching on YouTube, or if you're not, subscribe to the YouTube channel. It is also Besties by Caitlin, Caitlin. Check out the Pop Culture Besties Etsy merch shop. It's all designed by yours truly. 9/10 of it is Bravo merch. Let's be real. And friends, I will see you tomorrow. You have a fabulous hump. I can't even talk. Okay, you have a fabulous hump day. Bye.